episode number 18 with Dusty Schmidt. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
And this is Mike Snyderman.
How you doing, Mike?
Pretty good. No complaints.
Good.
All is well in Mikey land here.
Good. We have a heck of a guest for you guys today. His name is Dusty Schmidt. He wrote the book, my favorite book that I've mentioned about 400 times on this podcast, Treat Your Poker Like a Business. And we got him on today. We just finished the interview. We're recording this afterwards, and I think it was a really good interview. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I thought it was really fun. I mean, he's just a fun guy to talk to beyond the poker wisdom he shared with us.
Yeah, and the work ethic. Oh my God, he still, even on American sites, he's able to put in. He was saying 9 to 15 tables at cash.
Yeah, I can't do that, but I think a couple times I've started, now that I'm trying to play a couple sites, I've started off with like 12. I think I actually had 14 tournaments up at once the other day.
Oh my God.
And I was getting timed out quite a bit. And I'm like, well, at least thank God I'll be out of 5 of these in the next 30 minutes, and then I can be down to a manageable number.
Yeah. I don't even know if my computer could handle that. I know I couldn't.
Right. Well, yeah, I don't know. You probably... It's possible, I'm sure. I think 6 to 8 is optimal for me.
Yeah.
Probably more like actually 5 or 6, but whatever.
Yeah. For me, the max is 4. I've done 5 and 6, and I can't keep track of them that fast. 4 is ideal for me. 3, I kind of get bored. 2 is just not enough. But
well, it's if I do 10 or more tournaments a night, I'm almost guaranteed to have at least one deep run, which could either make the session profitable or save the session to break even. If you make the final table kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think I did the Bovada 30K last night, but that was the only one I cashed in, and unfortunately, I think I went out like 40th place or something for a minish cash. So it did not save the session. I was lost probably 300 or 400 at least, but yeah, that's my general feelings on that.
Right on.
So I don't know what else. I started a thread on 2+2 yesterday.
Oh, cool.
The poker. I'm in a little bit of a panic here, Steve. I got to be honest here. Maybe there's some life lesson here that's going to be. But Carbon Poker. I've been talking about how I got a bunch of money on there, and I said, well, regardless, minimum wage job. At least I'll have that money coming out.
Yeah. And
they always say they pay you. I think they say 3 to 5 weeks, or maybe, but they change it now to 5 to 6 weeks. And I'm like, it's been 6 weeks. What's going on? And like, unfortunately, they gave I was in the chat room and I even took a photograph of the chat, but they said because they're getting so many withdrawal requests, unfortunately, there is a backing up of it, or whatever they said, where there's they weren't able to give me the check right away, but they're on top of it. I'm like, well, when is it coming out? And they're saying, well, we don't know when, as soon as their processor is caught up, kind of thing. So,
wow.
That made me nervous.
Yeah.
Like, this is how other sites start, where they stop paying out, promptly or whatever.
Lock poker and yeah.
Well, the name of my thread was like, Carbon Poker, payout problem. Lock Poker too? Question. A lot of people said, listen, you're jumping the gun. You've, what do you, a lot of people are getting kind of angry. It's like, listen, they've always been slow. They pay out. And he's like, what sample size do you have to start calling it? I said, well, I've gotten 18 checks from them. 19 times I've made check requests, and 18 of the times they've come in, a timely fashion. So I think this is, anyways, something to follow about. If I don't get if I don't get a check sent in the next week or two, I'm going to be in kind of a full panic mode here. Now let's just cross my fingers and hope that this is a temporary thing.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, that would be a pretty bad kick in the nuts there that I would have trouble adjusting to, because that's money I sort of need right now,
Yeah.
And then you have a few people that started jumping on me in the thread. It's pretty funny. I'm like, well, this is money I need to pay my bills. Somebody get a job then. If you're a loser who's relying on online poker to pay your bills, then you got no, And I agreed with everything people were saying, actually, but
still, you got 20 grand sitting there and you can't even touch it. That's frustrating.
Yeah, and then the interesting thing was, a few people said, "Well, go to Mexico."
Oh.
So I'm like, that didn't even occur to me. They go sit on the beach, set up a bank account, sit on the beach for a month. He's like, they do bank transfers there, probably five. So I don't know. There could be just the way I live my life in a chaotic fashion. Like a Mexican trip would somehow lead to, I would come back with like a meth addiction or
be hooked on cocaine.
Be shot in the kneecaps a couple times by, looking at some guy's woman or, you know what I mean? Somehow there would be, the idea of me in Mexico for a month would be,
yeah.
And I don't even know if that's feasible, how easy it is to set up a bank account and do all this other kind of stuff and then transfer it back to your American bank. And it's,
Yeah.
As we've said, I can barely manage Skype, to just these financial transactions are. Anyways, hopefully, well, I won't go into it any deeper than that, but this is something you'll be hearing from me more from soon if I don't get a damn checkout here, because it's pretty frustrating. And I thought it was a little ominous they did not even give a time frame, other than as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah.
I guess from their perspective, they can't make any promises there, but Yeah. I mean, we know all these things. I mean, all these poker sites still run as a scheme via, like just probably the same as Full Tilt, where you're just assuming you're always going to be getting more deposits than withdrawals. So, the party never ends. You just take as much money out as you want because, the money's always coming in. And I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah.
We have such a good interview and it's a long one. Should we
let's
stop the BSing and get right to it here? Talk to Mr. Schmidt.
And without further ado, here is Dusty Schmidt. Dusty Schmidt, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, we apologize for lying. I know that Steve got you on by saying he was with CBS News, and this is actually just it's actually two schmucks with a podcast that just began here. So yes, we appreciate your trustworthiness, gullibility, and no.
How you tell me, huh?
No,
I had to get you on somehow. So what you been up to? You're still grinding online. I saw you play on America's Cardroom now, right?
Yeah, I've been playing on America's Cardroom, and yeah, things are going great. I've really got my game. Well, I mean, relatively speaking to what I can tell from how everyone else is playing, I feel like it's probably as good as it's ever been.
What since Black Friday, how many tables are you able to do? I remember in your book you were saying you were doing anywhere from 12 to 16 or something crazy like that. What are you able to do that kind of volume now on America's Cardroom or?
Well, you can. It's just a matter of, during certain times how low stakes you're willing to play. I mean, I have it filtered out so where only 1, 2, and above pops up on my screen. So I don't really go lower than that, although sometimes if I need some beast points at the last minute or something, I'll go lower. But, I mean, mostly like 9 to 15 tables. It's
really?
kind of yeah.
I gotta say, I was a little surprised. I jump on YouTube and looked you up there, and I saw a video of you playing 2550 at Black Chip, and I just assumed there were like no kind of higher stakes games on the U.S. sites. But I mean, I'm a tournament player, so I wouldn't know that anyways. But I'm just curious how those games are. Would you compare them to the Pokerstars days? Are they? I assume people who can play 2550 obviously have money. I'm assuming there's still some very good players there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the players are all really good. That 2550 video you speak of, I think that was in 2012.
Oh, that's old news? Okay.
Yeah, and on Black Chip, that was right before they merged with ACR.
Okay.
Yeah, the last couple of years it's been ACR, and it's just been, I'm looking at my hands, and I get about 10% of my hands at 3-6 and above, 3-6 to 10-20, but 90% of it's 1-2 and 2-4, and it has nothing to do with me not wanting to play the bigger games. It's just, I just play them when they run.
Wow. That's dispiriting for anyone out there who wants to be a low stake grinder. Is that on the American sites, the top guys are the ones you're not playing mailmen and firemen at 1-2. You're playing probably a lot of times you're bumping against pros.
Oh yeah, I mean that you've always been playing against pros. It's been 5 pros and a recreational player at most tables for years, even at 1-2. But it's just like it's the quality of the professional. I mean, I playing 10, 20, 25, 50 as a regular on Stars, and a lot of other guys were that I'm playing against. So, when there was a billion 1-2 games going, a billion 2-4 games going, all that stuff like back in 2008 or 2009, there was a disparity between the pros that was a chasm. The 1-2 pro would get destroyed by a 5, 10, 10, 20 pro.
Okay.
Whereas these days, there's just nowhere near that level of disparity. And so, the limits have kind of merged a little bit, where there was a huge separation between a 5-10 player and 1-2. Now, all I can play is 1-2 and 2-4 a lot of the time. So, now you're playing against me and other 10, 20, 25, 50 regs at 2-4, when you used to be playing against pros that were significantly, lower quality than the 10, 20, 25, 50 guy.
Okay. Interesting. Now, are you, I think it was back in 2012, you were America's Cardroom first elite pro. Do they still have that program, or?
Yeah.
They do, okay.
Yeah, right now they have, it's just been me. I was supposed to be sort of like, come on board as the head pro, I guess. I don't know what the terminology would be. And then, there's supposed to be a team around it. And, but right now they've just stuck with me, I guess. I don't know.
So you're the one-man team, the one-man show, huh?
Yeah, well, maybe I keep telling them, I'm like, it's funny. The minute you sign me, your site's just progressing every month, and every month, that you keep me on, it just keeps going up. So clearly, I'm the entire reason for that. Right? You don't want to mess with a good thing. Don't let me go.
And you've never left the U.S. You've been able to. When Black Friday hit, I'm assuming you had some fair amount of money online, right? Or
yeah, I was Team Pokerstars pro at the time, and had a contract, well into 6 figures for that, and just had to walk away from it basically. It was either that or move, and
right
at the time I was married, and moving was out of the question to her, and so then now we're not married, and now moving is kind of out of the question for me because my kids are here, and since she won't move, there's really nothing I can do.
Right.
Yeah. And you're up in Portland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was up there a few years ago, and we stopped by. Have you ever been to one of the McMinimans?
Yeah.
Those are fun, yeah. It's, anyone who hasn't heard of it, there's these two brothers, I think they're in their 60s or 70s now, but they'd go around and they'd buy up random pieces of property and basically convert it into a giant brewery, and one building will be like a movie theater, and another one will be the hotel, and another one will be a brewery, and another one's a bowling alley, and they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, they even bought a school.
Oh, they bought a school?
I think it's called like the Kennedy School McMinimans or something. Yeah, they just buy the weirdest places and then just put their good food and beer on it, and people show up.
Yeah. I always thought it would be a neat trip to just spend a month up in that area and just go to each one, because they have like 16 or 17 of them, don't they, across Oregon?
Yeah, and Oregon would be a really fun place. This place is like Vegas Junior, and people don't really realize it.
Huh.
There are, we have casinos here on the Indian reservations. We've got, it's got more strip clubs per capita than anywhere else. We've got,
those are fun.
Right 30 miles outside. Yeah, they are. outside of Portland is.
You got a lot of drunken Canadians crossing the border, starting rock fights, and just a general raucous atmosphere.
Exactly. But yeah,
Steve really loves to soak up culture. He went to Paris a few weeks ago and got off the plane. He says, "You got to make Minimans around here." Where's the bowling alley? Where's the goddamn strip clubs? Well, sir, there's one right near the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel what?
Get that thing out of the way. I can't see.
But yeah, you got Pinot Noir, land right out there where all the great Pinot's made. That's 20 miles from downtown, and you've got, we keep getting ranked #1 best place for beer in the country too, and you got all the breweries that you can visit downtown. So I mean, you could just sit there and get drunk and have, and they're completely nude strip clubs. None of these pasties, completely bottomless with alcohol. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it is. It's like a out here. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Do strip clubs have good Wi-Fi? Can you multi-table while you're getting a lap dance? I've always wondered that.
I want to play open-faced Chinese while I'm getting a lap dance.
I actually did play online poker one time in a strip club, if you can believe that.
It's probably just no more distracting than a couple screaming kids asking for your help here, So it's you can do that.
Yeah.
What you said? There's Indian casinos up there. Do you ever play live, or are you just strictly online?
I'm just strictly online. It's just not. It's not worth it. Those are an hour away. Those are a distance away from.
Oh yeah, that'd be a pain.
And what am I going to do? Drive, an hour to play a 2-5 or something? I mean, it's not going to be as lucrative as just playing online.
Yeah. And what about tournaments? Do you ever? You've been out to the WSOP, I'm sure, right? Do you ever play any tournaments or?
Yeah, I mean, I play in Punta Cana Poker Classic every year.
Okay.
Americas Cardroom puts on. That's been about it. I just don't enjoy it. I really dislike playing live.
Okay.
I mean, I like it in the right settings with the right people, right environment. It can be more fun by far than any other way of playing cards. But just the sort of like show up for the tournament and sit around in the early stages of it and just have a bunch of people at the table that I generally don't want to be around. I like, it's always like half the guys at the table are great, but the other half just kind of ruin it for me.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I went down to Punta Cana 2 years ago, I think. My buddy and I, we go on an annual trip every year, and one of them was to the Dominican Republic, and I didn't play there, but the casino was really, really nice. Me and my buddy basically just got drunk and watched sports, and then we left. But I remember thinking I got to come back here for their tournament series because it looked like a really nice hotel.
Not bad.
I don't know. Can I ask how recently you got divorced? Was that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're pretty much, it just kind of was a little on and off for a little while and, some separation starting in like 2011, I think. And then just kind of finally decided to pull the plug like 2.5 years ago.
Okay. We talked to your buddy, Jared Tendler not too long ago.
Oh, okay.
And I was just thinking, did the personal stuff lead to all sorts of, were you having to use him more? I mean, was there even greater challenges, playing poker, profitably and competently, going through all that, I'm sure.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the main challenge for sure, was playing poker. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm just sitting here, heartbroken or breaking down in tears over the, there's been no happier guy after a divorce than me.
Okay.
I love being divorced. It's just the best thing in the world. But it was just dealing with her because it was not an easy one.
Right.
I mean, she went for everything she could, and so
not an amicable separation, as they say in legalese.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she was definitely of the mind that everything I made was hers too, and I tried to make that not the case as much as possible.
Yeah,
since I earned everything, but yeah, it was just dealing with I go down to sit, play some cards, play online, get tables popped up, and I would get a call from my lawyer at least once a day, and it was 100%, negative news, pretty much.
Yeah.
Every single time.
There was never a happy call there.
Yeah, it was never like, oh, she agreed to that, and it was always like, well, she'll fight you till the end of that one or whatever. And so, I just want to put a hole through my computer half the time, and I'm trying to play poker, and so I just it was just I could never even sit down for like 4 hours in a row and do something without getting bugged. And also I had like an adjustment period with the stakes. Like just too much like, what the hell, it's the guy bet $12, I'll call, because, that wasn't even a blind for me, not that long ago. So like I had, kind of a bad attitude about that because, I felt like I came from, just like playing all these big pots all the time. And, even a 5-10 game seemed like nothing then. And,
Sure.
stacking for $1,000 was like nothing. And then all of a sudden that was like my big game. And so,
that was be a tough adjustment.
It was. I actually worked with a psychiatrist who specializes in retired athletes. And essentially, these guys will go from like the Super Bowl and then, at like 32, 33 or something like that, they're, retired and done. And it's like, what do they do with their life? And so I didn't have that part of it, but what I had was like the feeling like I, was playing in the Super Bowl or, something cool in poker to like playing high school football, to go from 25, 50 online at Stars or, have an article in Sports Illustrated written about you and all that type of stuff to just, oh wow, okay, I'm playing 50 cents a dollar today. Like,
yeah.
So that was a challenge for me.
Hard to play your A game. It seems,
Yeah, exactly.
It would seem pointless, well, if my worst day ever here at 1-2 is going to be, a drop in the bucket compared to the stakes you used to play, obviously.
Yeah, like a good day was less than a C bet on some of my bigger games. So, but that being said, the money's still good. It's just, it's just different. But so what I just had to work on was just, taking pride in everything I do. It's like, okay, well, let's be the best 1-2 player on the site, or whatever it is. So, that $12 call, don't look at it as $12. Look at it as, this is going to affect your win rate if you make a poor call, and, take pride in just your win rate kind of thing. And so,
right.
I eventually got there, but long story short, I had, probably a year stretch where I either just decided, well, screw it, I'm going to get bugged by a lawyer today. I'm just going to go play golf for him. And, just not really take it that seriously. And, it was definitely like my worst poker year, but it didn't really matter to me because I didn't really have any goals and I didn't need the money right away. And so, but now I've just got to the point where I'm playing really well. Probably the best poker I ever played in my life is right now.
Cool.
Could you, if you wanted, if you really just became sour on poker, make a living just through, coaching and writing books and all this other kind of stuff, or you're always going to be grinding out of necessity and out of love for the game, I guess?
Yeah, because I do love the game and I do enjoy playing every day and, I have a good time and
okay.
I just, for me, I would probably, anything's possible, but I would probably look for something else to do before I would do that full time.
Okay. I was doing my little kind of research on you, and this is sort of old news, but probably you've been asked about this a bunch, but I found it interesting. The article you wrote for Card Player a couple years ago, I'm sure you know what this is going to be, called "This Is My Brain on Poker."
I was going to ask him the same exact thing right now.
oh, really? Okay, you read it too. Yeah, it was really, and I guess it got such an animated response, then you wrote a follow-up to it. Can you maybe just quickly say what the article was about, if for people who haven't read it?
Yeah, it was just kind of my experience on what, like intensively playing online poker, day after day over a lot of years, what that can do to your brain. And it definitely changed things. For one, what I was kind of writing about initially was just kind of having some problems with anxiety, not being able to sit still, not being able to focus away from poker. I could focus on poker, but not away from it so well. And just stimulating my brain too much to the point where slowing it down for, normal activity was just difficult. It was just getting really overactive. And I guess there's some speed at which something travels in your brain. And this is, I'm not a doctor and this is like a terrible explanation, but there's something that like, they can measure a rate at which things are processing, and or traveling through the brain, and they were just firing at like these ridiculous speeds. And I had one of the most overactive brains they've ever seen, and I think there's 70,000 brain scans that they have. And so,
wow.
that was not the case before I started playing poker. It doesn't rule out that it happened from, that it got overactive for some other reason, but it seems to perfectly coincide with playing a lot of poker. So what I've done now is just basically I'm playing, concentrated spurts of time, 3-4 hours here and there, take a break. I don't sit. I used to just go to the computer sometimes at like 10 in the morning, and then I'd just be, I'd finally leave at 10 at night.
Wow.
And it's just so long to sit there and process that many decisions at one time, also while, under pressure or for your paycheck, however you want to say it. And it's very taxing on your brain. And I think the one point that I made in there that I think is maybe one of the strongest is that, we're all sort of the guinea pigs in a way, like the online poker grinders or probably the video gamers to some extent. I mean, these things haven't been around for 5,000 years to where we can study, what it does to a brain to, sit in front of a screen and process loads of information without a second break, for hours and hours on end, day after day, year after year. So, there is that kind of element of risk. Guys didn't think there'd be such a stink about concussions and everything, and the brain damage in football and stuff. 30, 40 years ago, they weren't worrying about that so much. And now, well, we just had a big star in the 49ers, I think, retire at 22, 3, 4, somewhere in there, because he just felt
Yeah.
So I don't think poker's that, dangerous to that degree, but there is an element of just the unknown, is my point.
Yeah, we haven't evolved to there hasn't been enough time, like you said, for us to evolve to be able to handle that or even know what the repercussions are.
Exactly.
So what would the tough-minded clinical person say? Because you talked a lot about how you needed drugs and alcohol when you weren't playing. Because your brain, I guess your brain is functioning in such a comfortable way when you're playing poker. You're in the loop, I think was the expression you say, that just when you're out of it, it's like a shock to the system. That you have to think about. You have to think about something other than what you now think about so easily and can do in such a millisecond, all these equity calculations or ranges or whatever.
Yeah.
With that, yeah. I mean, I know just reading some of the reaction to it. You said there was some really sort of angry response to, well, if you're depressed or if your drugs or alcohol, this has nothing to do with poker. This is side stuff in your life you're not dealing with.
Yeah.
But it did jump out at me as true. The loop was like a sort of a light bulb moment for me, because I know it's like, even like someone like, well, where are we going to dinner tonight? It's like, there's so many places where, you were just playing poker, multitabling, and it's just you're pressing buttons, and there's like, you sort of know what you're doing every time. And it is just like living in like a, I don't know. Yeah. Just totally pushing out the outside world. And, when you step out of it, it's all of a sudden things are complicated again. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And the marijuana and alcohol, I mean, that was brief, basically like during a time where I kind of like realized there was a problem, but I was kind of like self-medicating in a way. And then, when I was able to get with the psychiatrist and just get down to the real issues of what was going on and have somebody actually be able to hold my brain scan in their hand and, put a little more of a science to it than some of the other ways of doing things. And so, now that stuff is not an issue. And it was also like really, it had a lot to do with a medication. So like I went in, I think the timeline is I sort of went in for just basically to the doctor, and, I was like kind of depressed about things, but looking back, I just had a shitty marriage. It wasn't like some clinical depression. Never was.
Right.
Yeah, you had a lot of stress in your life, and that was influencing everything else. That makes sense.
Yeah, I went in there and then got some medication. They gave me medication, Zoloft, and it was just, it just completely messed with my brain. And I just thought, God, this stuff is just, something's not right here. But my ex-wife liked how I was on it, because it did calm a lot of things down and I could focus better and all that stuff. But it was just killing me in other ways. And so then it eventually caused me more anxiety. And then that's when I like, well, okay, the medicine doesn't work. Like, I can't stop playing poker right now, and I don't want to stop playing poker right now. And so, okay, well, I'll just calm it down with some marijuana instead tonight or something. And, that just was kind of like about a 6-month period in my life, tops. And then I just kind of was like, all right, we need to get this fixed and do it right. And so now everything has been fine. In fact, within a month of seeing the clinic, everything was just totally fine again. They really think, because I continue to work with them at least every like 3 months just to check in. And my doctor's pretty confident it was just sort of a really bad situation with my marriage and stuff that kind of triggered most of the stuff. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of grinders who would argue that marijuana is actually better than Zoloft for their poker. I don't know. I'm sure you've heard this from people. Like, I've heard guys who are like, I play my best poker when I've been awake for 2 days and I'm drinking a margarita. Like, your mind is just at ease or whatever. I don't know. So, did marijuana it was bad for your life, but did it adversely affect your poker? I don't know. Maybe that's a strange question. I don't know.
No, marijuana, I could play on marijuana as well or better. That's without a doubt.
Really? Does it just allow you to focus better, or what?
Yes, it allows me to focus better. Now, I don't know how much of it is, just you change as you get older or whatever. But I used to be able, I was working with Jared Tendler, had him as my sports psychologist, and I was able to lock in a way that I don't think too many people could on something. And, he helped develop that for me. And I noticed like it really, I was able to do it day after day for a couple of years. And it just, boy, I just seemed to really have a hard time doing it after a while, to be able to lock myself in like that. And so one thing that marijuana can do is definitely lock you in on things. And so, it's just not really a road I want to go down with my career to use it because it works that way. But I have done it before for sure, and several times during that struggle, that period where I was struggling. And I actually played. I had that stretch where I was playing at least some of the time when I was having trouble focusing. I've never really played I've never just gotten high all day and played. But during some of the times when I was having trouble focusing, I would smoke that, and then all of a sudden my win rate to the top again.
Interesting.
Steve, for some reason, likes to blame his losing sessions on the crack he's smoking.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't know if, I'm like, crack's fine, man. I don't. Take a look at your game, bitch.
Yeah, if I ever tell you, man, I could beat you in poker. I could beat you. You're so easy to beat. I could beat you smoking 8 joints, and I could still beat you. Don't do that. You're getting hustled. I will play better, if anything.
Now, what about? Have you heard of Adderall? I've heard a lot of poker players take Adderall because they before they start a long tournament or something. They say it helps them focus. But I haven't met anyone personally yet that has taken it. Have you tried that?
No, that's not something I could do with my heart. But I know that you're totally right. A lot of guys use that. And to be honest with you, it wouldn't shock me if 9 out of 10 poker players are on average or most of the time either on Adderall or smoking pot while they play. I think 90% of pros. Honestly, I do.
It's funny you mentioned that. I went to the card club, the local card club last night. I just driving through the parking lot, it smelled like a pot farm. And then walking into the casino, guys are just out in the parking lot just smoking a J right out in front of everybody. I thought, man.
God bless California, man.
I know. Geez, they're not even worried, They're just sitting there just smoking a J, passing it around their group out in the parking lot. I'm like, man. Okay.
Yeah.
Did Dusty, I was just curious, were you ever doing high stakes heads up, or have you always been kind of full ring or six max?
I've always just done 6 max and full ring.
Okay.
And heads up starting tables.
Because the real, of course, I'm sure you know, like it's like the poker junkies are always curious who's the best heads up player. You know, when Ben Solsky beats Jungle Man or vice versa and that kind of stuff. I was just wondering if you're ever sort of desired to enter that world and just become, you know, mano a mano, who's the best. You know, I mean, how would you do against those guys, or would that be like a whole other group of studying and sort of effort you'd have to put in just to?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my heads up game pretty good right now. Definitely the best it's ever been. But that being said, I mean, I'm gonna get beat pretty handily, I think, by most of the best players right now. But I think if you gave me a month, like if I just threw myself in there and just played, I think by the end of the month I would just be doing just fine, you know. And I don't know what that means. I mean, maybe I'm a 2BB loser or something like that. But I you know, I mean, just against the best guy. But it's I feel like I have confidence in that anything I want to try and achieve, I can achieve it. So maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of the mentality I go by. And I just feel like anything in poker I've tried to do well, I've done well, but it always takes me a little bit of time. So I think if you threw me in there, they're gonna beat me up pretty bad, and then, you know, when I get beat up bad, that's when I work harder, and then I think I would do just fine after a while.
What are some of your I'm reading a quote from one of your blogs. I don't know if you remember writing it or not, but it stuck out to me. It says, improving each day is what the game is about. If you can walk away a bit better at the end of the day than you were when you started it, then it is only a matter of perseverance before you are a great player. Like, what are some of your daily routines that you think has made you successful? Like, do you have a vision board, or do you write down your goals and read them? Like, what are some of the daily rituals that you have that you think has led to your success?
That's a good question. And I think I don't really know if there's like a specific ritual. I mean, you did mention like writing down goals, and that's something, you know, that I definitely do every day. And, you know, I'll keep like little notepads and stuff of things I want to work on, things that I like. If I always have a notepad next to me all day, so I'm always taking things down either on a notepad on my computer or just an actual one that I write on next to me. And I just try and basically never let anything get too far out of whack. Like if I notice myself, you know, if I notice any kind of pattern, oh man, the last 3 or 4 times I got in this spot, I have no clue what to do, or this guy put me in a tough spot here. You know, not only will I, you know, when I'm done, figure out a way to counter it, but then because he put me in a tough spot, it's probably a good play. So then I'll figure out how to incorporate it into my own strategy. And I guess I'm just like, my eyes are always open, and I'm never gonna play bad for 3 days in a row and just be like, okay, well, I hope the 4th day I play better. I mean, I'll be up till 2 in the morning if I have to figure it out. And so I think it's just kind of more of like an overall, like, just kind of relentless
instinctive capacity for learning and self-evaluation.
Work ethic.
Yeah, work ethic. I mean, I just kind of always believe if you just work hard at something you want, you'll eventually get it. It might take you 6 months or 30 years, but you'll get there.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you have to do a boatload of studying at the beginning? I mean, were you kind of, you know, just I was just listening to an interview with Danielle Anderson, who said she doesn't do any studying, and just from the beginning she just kind of got it and was a winning player. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, and
were you kind of in that school, you think, a little bit?
Oh, no. No, I'm horrible at everything I try and do right away. I mean, I can't do anything good. If you're just like, hey, try to do this, and I haven't done it before, I'll be like one of the worst you've ever seen do it the first time. But then, you know, if it's something that interests me, I generally get pretty good at it after a while. And so I had to work at poker really, really hard. I mean, it took me, you know, it was every day after work. And I even intentionally avoided dating for a while just because I didn't want anybody interfering with my path to trying to hopefully play for a living someday. So after work, I would just play all day.
Are you on Tinder with the name Leatherass? Is this how you? No, I'm just... do you ever get that walking down the street? Hey, Leatherass! No, it's like, no, you gotta play a couple hands of poker with me. I'm Dusty until then. No,
I've never. No Tinder. No Leatherass Tinder. I should do that though as a gimmick. See,
I might try it actually. Now that I think about it, it'd be better than what I'm doing now. But
yeah.
Start with Match.com or something.
Yeah, I try those half-heartedly. I just throw a picture up and hope somebody finds me. I don't really put any effort in.
Well, these days, I mean, I just think it's like silly if you don't. I mean, I got a girlfriend now for a couple of years, so I don't really like. It's not like I'm looking, but I'm just saying, like, I think online dating is a no-brainer. I mean, why not? You just give yourself more opportunities to get lucky.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. What year did you decide to write Treat Your Poker Like a Business?
I think it came out in 2009.
In 2009, okay. Yeah, I was I've talked about it on the podcast, and I was telling you it's my favorite poker book by far. I've probably read 50 or more poker books, and that one really stood out for me, and it was like, okay, here's a guy that's broken down exactly what you need to do. I think you had a couple of strategy suggestions at the end of the book, but basically the whole book was bankroll management, having study habits, work ethic, start at the low stakes, and then once you're a winner at those, then move up, and just, I mean, you just laid it out very simply, and it's a quick read on this is exactly what you need to do. Where did you get the idea to write a book like that? Because I haven't seen any others like it.
Well, I just, I kept hearing everybody's, I didn't believe it, but everybody said, oh, well, he's just, I had the highest win rate for 2 straight years. And so on Pokerstars, 5, 10, and 10, 20. So everybody thought I sucked. I don't know why, but that was just sort of the thing where I sucked, but I did all these other things away from the table that were really good. Okay. And there is some merit to that, obviously, because I wrote a book about them, and it did really well. So obviously I was doing a lot of things other people weren't doing that were contributing to my win rate. So I just felt like, well, if the perception is I suck and that I do all these other things, there would probably be a lot of demand for these other things, because it's,
right.
Yeah.
Because apparently you don't even need to be good. You can just, do these things.
So originally the book was going to be called Suck My Cock Haters, and you decided to change the title because you thought you'd sell a few more, right?
Exactly. But the thing that cracks me up is that, okay, let's just go with the theory that I suck and I do all these other things good. Well, if it yielded, the highest win rate, why aren't you doing that?
Yeah.
Why are you sitting there making fun of them? So,
Steve, if you actually listen to our podcast, Steve quotes that book with such frequency. It's like one of those Christians on the street swinging a Bible at you. You know what I mean? And he quotes you so frequently, I'll be just talking to him on the phone. I'm like, what are you up to? I'm like, sun, beautiful day. I'm going to the beach. He's like, Dusty likes the sun. I'm hungry. I'm going to go get some pizza. Dusty likes to eat. He has dinner too. It's just, yeah, it's kind of creepy, frankly, but we can talk about the book anyways.
Yeah.
Dusty likes the sun.
Yeah. So if you wrote a book on like how to tie your shoelaces, 6 pages long, charge $100 for it, Steve will buy it. Just letting you know, you can really squeeze every nickel out of this guy. Just.
Yeah, I'm actually taking an Excel class right now. It just ended, but it's starting up again here in another month, and it's just for poker. Everyone else is in there learning Microsoft Word and Excel and stuff because they have to learn it for work, and I'm in there. I'm in there inputting data of all my tournaments for the last 2 years. The teacher's really good, though. She's showing me, like, oh, yeah, put this formula in here, and then it'll add up all your win rate, and then you can get your hourly. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Well,
Well, you know what's funny about treat your poker like a business? I took for granted kind of my background. I think like I grew up basically playing golf all the time, or if I wasn't playing golf, I would be with my dad doing like stuff for his business, or my mom or my brother. And so around the same time, you know, that I was just out of school, just out of high school, but then before poker, like during that time, I was playing professional golf and working for my parents, you know, off and on. So I kind of grew up immersed in competition,
yeah.
golf, you know, starting at 8, and business. You know, I was actually like helping my dad do his books when I was like 8 because I was kind of a math freak. So when I finished the book with Scott Brown, you know, I mostly did like I talked to him on the phone. He would give me like a rough chapter, and then I would rewrite it or edit it depending on, you know, how I felt about it. And so, and then the strategy guide I just directly, you know, wrote myself. He didn't write any of that. And so I remember when we got done with the first, you know, we kind of figured, okay, well, this is like the completed first draft. And I was reading it, and I read it twice, and I was like, Scott, we can't print this. He's like, what's the matter? He said, this book is going to be great. This poker needs this book. And I was like, I'm not saying anything in here that I don't think anybody that's going to be news to anybody. I just feel like everything in here is just like everybody knows this. And he's like, you don't understand, like you know, you have this background of competition and business, and most of the people you're writing to is like a lot of, you know, 20-year-old kids coming into this. Like this stuff is not going to be, you know, stuff they already know. Trust me. And I was like, oh, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. I was like, all right. So, you know, we released it, and then it went nuts. I mean, I remember it was crazy. I mean, we're charging $40 for an ebook, and
Wow.
$40 for the printed, which was actually low compared to the other pros that were writing books at that specific time in poker. And yeah, I would just get an alert on my phone. It seemed like every 5 minutes, $40, $40, $40. I mean, I sold, I think, $500,000 off my website.
Wow.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's
like
awesome.
6 or 7 months. It was crazy. So I was not expecting that kind of response to it, for sure.
Now, what about, I haven't read it, but Don't Listen to Phil Hellmuth. You have 50 tips that bad advice from pros that you've heard. Could you talk a little bit about that one?
Yeah, Don't Listen to Phil Hellmuth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the one.
Did he cut you off on the buffet line once? You just decided, I'm going to write a book about this fat bastard? Is that, or no?
Well, there's 2 reasons. One, I grew up on his books, which made me the biggest nit in the world. That's kidding. I mean, he's got you playing like basically like 2% of your starting hands or something.
Yeah, 9s plus.
Yeah,
sometimes ace queen.
Yeah, and if you're a jackal, you'll play ace jack from the button. That, and just, you know, so I was just like, you know, I finally had reached some level of, you know, making it like he had myself. And I realized how easily you could like take advantage of the situation. Like I was just thinking, man, I could put out anything and people would at least buy it once. And I think that was true. You know, I mean, I think I could have put out a book at that time and people would have just bought it. And I believe that Phil Hellmuth took advantage of his fame there and just wrote a piece of shit and put his name on it, or didn't even write it at all and just stamped his name on it or something. And that rubbed me the wrong way. But from the more lighthearted side of it, I think Phil, I knew he would like it. He just loves that shit. Yeah. So I knew that he would like that, and it wouldn't be like a big F you kind of thing, you know, that he would, he likes that attention.
Oh, has he actually commented on the book?
Yeah, well, we have
okay.
back and forth just through Poker News, just where they kept interviewing me and then him and then me and then him.
Oh, right. Okay. I got to check that out. I haven't seen that. Yeah.
He said, tell the kid, if I don't know anything about poker, Michael Jordan doesn't know anything about basketball.
Are you guys friends?
Well, we both know of each other, but nothing beyond that.
There's no hostility, yeah.
No, there's no hostility at
Okay.
all. Sure.
It was probably good timing because this was the time where everyone was pretty much, it was really no longer debate. It's like the newer, younger players are just better than the old school. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. This is from a 5-10 game of the Venetian this past summer.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a tournament player, and I had a lot of money in my pocket, and this is a game I probably shouldn't be in, which is kind of a spoiler. But anyways, there's a weakish. The villain I start this hand with $7,900, and the villain has about 5,000. Young Asian pro directly to my right, and my read on the table is this is a really good table. They all know each other. Which of course means there could be some crappy players who are just there all the time. But no, you get a sense that it's very pro heavy. And early position player makes it $30, and the villain in the cutoff makes it $120. And he could be doing this with any two cards in my estimation. And so I've been kind of looking for an opportunity for a lighter 4-bet here. I think his range is really wide, and this one particular player was always just getting 3-bet or. Just about every time, just getting pushed off his hand. And I am on the button with 10-9 of hearts. Is this, first of all, a decent cold 4-bet hand, would you say, in position against the loose villain?
So you're really deep, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, 800 big blinds, and he's got 500 big blinds, so yeah.
I think that's a good spot. Cold calling is, I don't think I would ever throw it away.
I didn't want to flat for some reason, and
flatting.
I don't know.
I mean, it works both ways. I mean, flatting can seem like weak, but also at the same time, you're really deep post flop in position.
Right.
And, God, you can kind of close your eyes and raise a lot of flops, and he's going to shit himself. But I think 4-betting is actually really good here this deep because you can call it 5-bet.
Okay.
Right, that's true too. Yeah.
Because I do not want to 4-bet and fold here. I'll tell you that. I would not want to do that.
Right.
You're just too deep, and you'll have too good odds when he comes back 5-betting, I think.
Well, I 4-bet it I made it 275. I don't know if that bet sizing is a little too small, or I don't know if that sounds about right.
Well, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, I don't mind being in position in a big pot with the initiative deep, at all. So I'd go a little smaller to induce a call. Maybe if I had something that I just decided to do with like an 8 deuce offsuit or something that just wasn't going to flop well or give me much equity to keep bluffing, I might go a little bigger.
Okay.
I don't know, or maybe even go bigger with like aces too, aces and kings and my total shit.
Okay. I was even thinking, since this is a little smaller, that he would immediately have, like, if I have air on the flop, he would have his alert on. Well, this is probably aces or kings. He's kind of raising smaller, but no, I guess, yeah, especially if you're deep, you're probably raising bigger with those hands. Yeah. But the original raise or folds, and the villain calls. Okay. So there's $595 in the pot, and the flop is the Jack of Hearts, the 7 of Hearts, and the 3 of Clubs. So I have a flush draw with the gutter ball. Pretty good flop.
Nice flop.
And he checks to me. And, of course, I assume I'm going to be c-betting here pretty much every time.
Yeah. And I wouldn't make it too big. Because I don't think you really want to, like, get it in if check raised. But you aren't going to need to make it very big. Like, if he has something like ace queen of spades or something, like, it doesn't matter what you make it. Like, he would fold. You know what I mean? So, or ace king offsuit, so, and then I don't know his ranges. I mean, he could be flatting with suited connectors back there. Small pairs, I'm sure, in there, because the pot odds would be great. I don't know 3-bet those though. But so I can't really give him a great range here. But I don't know the dynamic of the game that well. But yeah, I wouldn't make it big.
Well, with 595 in the pot, would you make it? You say not very big. Is not very big like 150, or is not very big like 350, or?
What did you say? 500 in the pot?
Well, 600, 595.
595. Yeah, probably like 350.
Okay.
Because I want to get it big enough to where I can still still have room to win a lot.
Sure.
If I can hit
your hand.
I don't need to be making very big. I don't think you need to be making a very big bet there to get him off of a lot of his hands that he'd be calling.
Okay.
Well, I make it 275, the same size as my 4-bet, and he quickly calls.
Okay, I don't mind that either. That's fine.
Just the what if he did check raise here to let's say pretty big. Let's say he made it 900.
Well, if he's check raising with crap, like I think you'll figure out a way to outplan because you always have pot odds and you'll get to the river and you'll probably he probably would just check raise once and give up, or he might bet the turn on a semi bluff and then kind of slow down on the river. I mean, he might jam if he's really a super aggressive, balls kind of guy. But I would not recommend getting it in because you'll only get it in against hands that you're in bad shape against.
Behind, sure. So there's now $1,145 in the pot, and the turn is the 6 of diamonds.
Okay.
And he quickly checks to me.
That's not a bad overpot spot.
Okay.
Like a full pot spot or something like that. So the pot is is it around like 12?
Yeah, $1,145 is in the pot right now.
I would probably bet. I'd probably go ahead and bet call.
Well, this is, I think, the big mistake here of this hand for me. I don't know. I check behind.
Okay.
And I checked pretty quickly too. I don't know if that's like a timing tell or something. If for some reason someone had a nutty hand, wouldn't they think about it a little more? I don't know.
Well, let's think about his range on the turn. I mean, or on the flop. I mean, I think you can have some flush draws that just decide they don't want to play a 1,600 big blind pot or whatever it would be. With it, I think that he could occasionally be like check calling a set, tens. Nines,
well, my read on the guy is actually that he could really almost have anything here, where he's just he just decides to float the flop to take it away from me later. Oh, he's 3-betting with any crap, and we're so deep. He's not going to have a 3-bet folding range at that point, because he can even if he's got a couple napkins, he could still hit his hand.
Yeah, I'm talking after he calls the flop. So
right after he calls even calling the flop. Yeah, I don't know. My read was, my plan was here. I was hoping to hit my hands. And if I hit the river, I was going to be raising just about anything he bets, because I just thought he'd have more crap than good hands in his, unless I hit a 10 or a 9, where I got the the showdown value.
Yeah.
Maybe this is how I'm justifying my play afterwards. But no, at the time I was thinking, well, I don't want to get pushed off my hand, but on the other hand, I think, he's gonna be betting the river regardless, and he just has a lot of junk in his range.
Okay.
So the river is the ace of spades. So right now the nuts would be 4-5, but the flush did not get there. So the final board: jack of hearts, 7 of hearts, 3 of clubs, 6 of diamonds, ace of spades. And the villain leads $600 on the river.
Okay. Raising it would probably be something to like 14 or 1,500. It wouldn't be much. It'd be a really small raise.
Okay, well, I feel sort of smart. I raised to 1,400.
There you go.
There you go.
And not even to try to push him off his ace. I don't think. I think an ace he's calling here, but it just to push him off his king high float. I don't know if that is the reason for maybe the smallish raise, where basically any air he's gonna give up on, and you're gonna get called by an equity hand anyway. So try not to.
Well,
try not to dump too many chips there, or just it looks really strong. That's what you would bet if you were at the top of your range here. If for some reason you had a set.
I'm sorry, I kind of lost like what your question was there. Am I from your perspective or
just from his perspective, what it looks like. That's kind of a smallish raise, right? I mean, what are we trying to make him think that we got a really big hand? We're trying to get paid on.
Well, to me, like so if I were him in this spot, we'll forget about what I have at this point. I would, if I led that river and you made a small raise like that, I would just think you had ace king. And so it would come down to me for whether to, if I had a better hand, obviously I would not fold. I would either be calling or re-raising. But if I was on air, I think you would be pretty sick if I shoved you in after you made it 1400. If you had ace king, I don't know. I think you might throw up and fold, but that would be what would be going through my head. And so you do open yourself a little bit by making the small raise as opposed to a bigger raise to getting re-shoved on by a guy who has some balls and thinks well.
Right.
But I don't know, like the assignment you have for his range on the flop, I think we could narrow it down a little bit more and say that he's going to have at least like some kind of like 2 overs and a backdoor straight, backdoor flush, or like if you really think he's going to float wide, like really, really wide, I think we can still narrow that down to like floats that make sense. Like I don't think, for example, he's going to have like ace deuce on that flop very often and float it. Like I think he's going to have queen, king of diamonds. Didn't you say there was 1 diamond on the flop, or what was it? It was
2 hearts.
2 hearts.
Two hearts and a club.
Yeah, so something like king, queen of clubs that has, some backdoors and 2 overs. Or I just think we can narrow that down a little bit. I don't think people are going to call a cold 4-bet, check call you with something like ace 3. But I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying that's going to be extraordinarily rare.
Okay. Well, the hand, I don't know if this is like I gave it the whole river took about 3 seconds. He made it 600. I immediately dumped 1400, and he took about a half a second before just picking up a bunch of chips and throwing him in there and going boom, and he threw 2700 in the pot. And I insta-muck, and he flips over the 8 deuce off.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's kind of interesting because usually I can kind of break down how a hand went bad, and I'm like, geez, what was I doing in this session that was exploitable, or what did he see, or I just thought it was interesting, an interesting hand. I mean, I guess like you said, on the river maybe his read on me was maybe I just called a river with a big like top 2 pair or something. I was afraid to raise. I mean, there must have been a previous history somehow that this wizard read into something here that I would never have an ace on the river there because I would because I'm sure he wasn't trying to push me off an ace, or maybe he was. But
I think he was, to be honest with you.
You think? Yeah, maybe. I think somehow he knew I had nothing. I don't know. I mean, I think the check on the turn. I don't know if the check on the turn, but it's just funny because this is one of those hands. Normally, especially in tournaments, if I go back and look, I can always, if I overbet a river, I'm like, well, it just doesn't make any sense. Of course, he's calling with second pair there. Or I can kind of break things down of where I make a mistake. But this was just one of those hands where I'm like, okay, I shouldn't be in this game.
Yeah.
Because I thought I read his hand well. I thought he had nothing, and I raised. And
well, yeah, I mean, I said the one thing about I think we can assign him a narrow range, which turned out to not be anywhere remotely accurate in this case. But the one thing I was saying about making it 1400 that you risked, is getting reshoved on.
Right.
And so that would have been kind of my thought process a little, was just that, if I do raise, it just looks like ace king trying to get a little bit more, or, whatever. Or even maybe just total bluff like you have.
I mean, the villain had been like real aggressive, but sort of, 3-bet pre-flop, take it down post-flop with a c-bet. I hadn't really seen any sort of like, turn, river, huge bets from him. I mean, just no other hands that I'd seen from him than a few hours. I think it just gotten to that point. I can't remember.
So he was a pro, right?
This guy was a pro because, he one of those things where, he was a pro. But there was a couple times he had to reload a few times. And just one of those, immediately looked in and he saw him pull $15,000 out of his pocket and yank 3 out of there like it was nothing. So, I'm pretty sure he's a pro.
I will say this, though. I'm not, oh man, I don't know how I like his lead in some ways because it's the only chance to win, but it also, like, you scream ace king in a lot of ways, too. Like pre-flop, making it huge, and then, or 4-betting pre-flop, betting the flop, checking back the turn when you have nothing. That's like kind of a common ace king kind of deal. But then again, if you have total crap, he wants to give himself some chance. And then he does set himself up to re-raise. I would like to think, if I were in his shoes, that I would be re-raising your $1,400 bet. But I still think from your perspective, it's going to be worth it to make it 1,400, because I think really only like the really top, like the very most aggressive rigs will spot that and re-raise you, and I think that's probably going to be a pretty good play, because I do think if he jams on you, like, you're going to really struggle with ace king. I'm not saying he'll always fold, but that's
a tough spot.
Yeah, that's pretty. So I like his play on the river.
So did I. If I wasn't involved in the hand, I would have loved his play. I would have found it fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, just like you either have air or ace king is what I'm thinking, like every time.
Right.
So, I mean, what else could you have unless you're like checking back aces on the turn?
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't think you're going to do on that board. But yeah, the big mistake, I think, was the turn. I mean, obviously, as it turned out, we could have avoided all that by betting the turn.
Right.
You have to bet that turn, because your likelihood of getting check raised is really small. And so, you're not an insignificant amount of time building a pot for when you hit anyway. So.
Right. Well, if he's going to put 2,700 on the river, why not? Maybe he does the same thing on the turn. I mean, maybe, like I said, he just sort of he was just going to viffer this hand and just make it like I have to play for $5,000 at some point. He was just going to put the last bet in. I don't know, but
well, yeah, but the thing is you gave him a great reason to make that play on the river, whereas you've given him no reason to make that play. When you 4-bet, then pot the turn, you were not getting check raised by 8 deuce there. I don't think. I think that. I mean, unless the guy had an absolute like soul read on you in terms of your like live tells or something, but
yeah,
you should be.
I was giving something away. I don't know what.
Well, people worry about that when they get owned, and that's not always the case, though.
Yeah.
And well, this is my ultimate poker sob story. 2 hands later, I get it in with this guy and flop a full house with queen 8, and then ace hits the river, and he had ace 8. So he took $5,500 off me on the next, like, he took $8,000 off me in about 9 minutes, and
Well, that had to make you feel better about the bluff, because you probably would have got the whole thing in no matter what you had in front of you.
Well, that's true. Yeah, it was one of those fortuitous things there for
$2,000 you lost on that hand. Probably would have just gone in on the other hand.
Yeah. Well, you know what, guys? I got to wrap it up. I got stuff. I got a busy day ahead of me, but thank you very much for your time,
Steve.
Dusty.
Steve, you're a fireman. There's no such thing as busy days for you guys. You sit around Leatherass style, just waiting for. No, I'm just sorry.
Do you have any plugs you want to put in, Dusty, for your books or anything?
Yeah, I do actually, and one of them we talked about the books already. But just for you too. I started a Twitch channel last week. Americas Cardroom asked me to do that as part of my deal with them, and now I'm doing it and kind of liking it. So, yeah, check it out, or anybody listening, check it out, because why wouldn't you? It's just basically watch me play. It's like free poker instruction. It's like my videos are now free, basically.
Yeah, coaching. Yeah.
Huh.
What?
Yeah,
okay, so how do we get to your Twitch channel? What's your handle?
It's just Leatherass, just Twitch TV Leatherass.
Okay, not Leatherass9, just Leatherass.
Just Leatherass, yeah.
Okay.
And it's blowing up, man. I started it. I've done it 3 days, and yesterday I had like 3,000 or 4,000 people watching it. So
nice.
It was.
Wow.
It's I didn't realize how popular that site is. You get a lot of traffic, and a lot of people come there to watch.
No, I think that's the next big thing for sure. Twitch is blowing up, in general. Yeah.
It is. All right.
Well, man, it's been great fun, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dusty. You have a good rest of the day, and take care, man.
All right, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, bye-bye.
You're welcome.
I have this discussion with, friends of mine all the time. The only thing that I can see, and you can never really look at yourself, the only thing that I see that is distinctly different about me is I'm not afraid to die on a treadmill. Right? I will run.
You would not be outworked.
I will not be outworked.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
You might have more talent than me. You might be smarter than me. You might be sexier than me. You might be all of those things. You got it on me in 9 categories. But if we get on the treadmill together, right, there's 2 things. You're getting off first, or I'm going to die. It's really that simple, right? So let's go back to the question about what if people block me out. There's going to be 2 options.
Yeah.
I'm going to get back in, or I'm going to be dead.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you're not going to outwork me. It's such a simple, basic concept. It's the guy who is willing to hustle the most is going to be the guy that just gets that loose ball. He got 2. Ooh, God, he grabbed that one. That was going to be out of bounds, but he saved it back in. It's like the commodity that I see the majority of people who aren't getting the places they want or aren't achieving the things that they want in this business is strictly based on hustle. It's strictly based on being outworked. It's strictly based on missing crucial opportunities. I say all the time, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.